You used to write long text, the kind that took 20 minutes to compose because you were trying to get every word exactly right, trying to capture the precise thing you meant so there would be no room for misreading. You'd rewrite the same sentence 4 times. You'd delete the whole thing and start over. You'd sit there staring at your phone screen with the kind of focus most people reserve for things that actually pay them because this mattered. Because you needed this one person, just this once, to hear what you were actually saying instead of what they assumed you meant. And then you'd finally send it. And the reply would come back in 6 words. Something light. Something that skimmed right across the surface of everything you just handed them. And you'd stare at those 6 words and feel something close, quietly inside your chest. Not anger. Something older and heavier than anger. The particular exhaustion of someone who just poured themselves into a bridge that the other person walked around. If you know that feeling, if your body just responded to that description before your mind had time to decide whether it should, then what I'm about to say is going to sound less like information and more like someone finally reading a page from a journal you never showed anyone. You stopped trying to be understood, not all at once, not dramatically, not with a speech or a confrontation or a door slamming behind you. You stopped the way a light dims when the power is slowly being cut. Gradually, quietly, in a way that nobody around you noticed because the performance kept running even after the thing powering it went dark. You still showed up. You still talked. You still answered when people asked how you were doing. But somewhere along the way, the version of you that used to reach toward people with the truth, the whole truth, the complicated and messy and hard to explain truth of what was actually going on inside you, that version sat down. She put the words back in her mouth. She folded the thing she was trying to say into a smaller shape that would fit the conversation without disturbing it, and she carried it home like she always does. If that scene is sitting inside your chest right now like it's been waiting for someone to describe it, I need you to hear what I'm about to say, because it might be the first time anyone has said it to you without following it up with advice on how to fix it. You're not broken. You are not giving up. You are not shutting people out. You have arrived at a place that a very specific kind of person arrives at after years of trying to bridge a gap that was never going to close, and the place you've arrived at is not defeat. It's the quietest, most exhausted form of wisdom there is. Let me tell you how a person gets here, because if I can describe the road accurately enough, you'll know I'm not guessing. You'll know this is real. It starts in childhood, the way almost everything starts in childhood, and it starts with the experience of being a particular kind of child. You were the one who felt things in a way that didn't quite match the room you were in. You had thoughts that were too big for the conversations available to you. You had questions that made adults uncomfortable, not because they were rude, but because they went to places that adults had quietly agreed to avoid. You noticed things that other children didn't seem to notice. The tension between your parents that nobody was naming. The sadness behind someone's smile. The way a teacher said something that meant one thing on the surface and something completely different underneath. You saw the underneath constantly, naturally, without trying, and when you pointed to it, the people around you either didn't see what you were pointing at or saw it and wished you hadn't brought it up. So you started learning, very early, that the thing you saw and the thing other people were willing to see were 2 different things. And you started learning that the effort of trying to bridge that difference, trying to translate your internal experience into language that other people could receive, was enormous. It cost you something every single time you attempted it. And most of the time, even after all that effort, the translation failed. Not because your words were wrong, because the person listening didn't have the same dictionary. They heard the words, they processed the words. But the meaning underneath the words, the thing you were actually trying to communicate, landed somewhere else entirely. And you were left standing in the gap between what you said and what they understood, holding the part that didn't make it across, wondering if the problem was your mouth or their ears or the space between. For a while, you tried harder. This is the phase that most people like you spend years in, and it's the most exhausting phase of all. You tried different words, you tried metaphors, you tried explaining the context, the backstory, the emotional framework that would make the thing you were saying finally click. You tried being more patient. You tried being more precise. You tried stripping everything down to the simplest possible language. You tried making yourself smaller, more accessible, more normal sounding, hoping that if you could just package the thought in the right container, someone would finally open it and find the actual thing inside instead of the wrapping. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes, after enormous effort, someone would get a glimpse of what you meant, and the relief of that glimpse was so powerful that it kept you going for months. It kept you believing that understanding was possible if you just tried hard enough, explained well enough, found the right person, or the right moment, or the right combination of words. The occasional glimpse became the fuel for hundreds more attempts. And the attempts that failed, which was most of them, chipped away at something inside you so gradually that you didn't notice it was happening until one day you realized that the part of you that used to reach toward people with your truth had gotten very quiet. Not angry, not bitter, just tired. A specific kind of tired that no amount of sleep addresses. The tiredness of someone who has been translating themselves into a foreign language for their entire life and has finally accepted that fluency in this particular translation is never going to come. That's where the stopping begins. Not with a dramatic decision, not with a breakdown or a fight or a resolution, just a slow, quiet, almost imperceptible pulling back. You stop finishing the sentence. You stop correcting the misunderstanding. You stop trying to explain why the thing that upset you, because the explanation would take 45 minutes and they would listen politely and still not get it, and you would end up more alone than if you had said nothing. You start editing yourself in real time, not to deceive, but to conserve. You learn which parts of your inner world are portable enough to share and which parts are too heavy, too strange, too you to survive the journey from your mouth to another person's understanding. And the parts that can't survive the journey, you keep. You carry them yourself. And over time, the collection of things you carry alone grows larger than the collection of things you share. And you become a person who is mostly invisible to the people who believe they know you. That invisibility is the thing I want to talk about most carefully, because it's the thing that hurts the most and the thing that's hardest to explain. You are surrounded by people who love you, people who would describe you with kind words, people who consider you a close friend, a trusted colleague, a valued family member. And they are not wrong to feel that way. You are all of those things, but they are knowing a version of you that is maybe 30% of the whole. Maybe 40 on a good day. The rest, the majority of who you actually are, lives in a room they've never been invited into, not because you don't trust them, but because you tried inviting people into that room for years and almost nobody knew what to do once they got there. They'd look around at the things you'd been carrying, the thoughts, the feelings, the depth of your perception, the complexity of how you see the world, and they'd get that look. That look you know so well. The look that says, this is more than I was expecting and I'm not sure how to respond. And you'd watch them scramble for something to say, something appropriate, something that would show they understood, and the scrambling itself would tell you everything you needed to know. They didn't understand, they were trying to. But trying isn't the same as arriving. And so you stopped opening the door, not because you stopped wanting people to come in, but because the experience of watching someone stand in the middle of your inner world and not recognize where they were became more painful than being in there alone. The aloneness was familiar. The aloneness was manageable. The aloneness didn't require you to then comfort the other person for not being able to understand you, which is a particular kind of cruelty that people like you know intimately. The experience of bearing something real and then having to take care of the other person's discomfort with what you just showed them. of being vulnerable and then immediately having to become the strong one again because your vulnerability overwhelmed them. Here's what I need you to hear, and I need you to hear it without the filter you've built over years of not being gotten. The decision to stop trying to be understood is not a failure of connection. It is a form of self-preservation that is entirely rational given what you've been through. You tried. For years, maybe decades, you tried in every way available to you. You tried with words. You tried with writing. You tried with silence that you hoped someone would read correctly. You tried with art or music or the way you organized your life around the things that mattered to you, hoping someone would look at the shape of your choices and understand what they were saying. And the return on that investment was so low, so consistently low, that continuing to invest stopped making sense. That's not bitterness. That's math. You calculated the cost of trying against the likelihood of being received, and the cost won. That is a sane response to an insane amount of unreciprocated emotional labor. But I want to be honest with you about something, because I'd be doing you a disservice if I made this sound like a clean resolution. The decision to stop trying, even when it's the right decision, even when it's the wise decision, even when it brings a genuine and necessary peace, carries its own kind of pain. It carries the pain of acceptance, the acceptance that the world is not going to meet you where you live, the acceptance that most people, including people who love you, will know you partially and never know the difference, the acceptance that the thing you carry, the depth, the complexity, the specific architecture of how your mind works, is something you will mostly carry alone. And that acceptance, even when it's made in peace, even when it's made without anger, has a grief inside it that comes and goes for the rest of your life. It's the grief of someone who wanted to be known and learned to live without it. Not happily, not tragically, just honestly. The way you learn to live with a limp. You adjust, you compensate, you build a life that works. But you always know the limp is there. Now here's the thing that makes this bearable, and it's the thing I want to leave you with because it's the thing that actually changes something. You stopped trying to be understood by everyone. You did not stop being understandable. The difference matters more than you might think. Because somewhere out there, and maybe already somewhere in your life, there are people who don't require the translation. People whose inner world has a similar shape to yours. People who hear what you actually mean the first time you say it. Not because they're trying hard, not because they're performing empathy, but because they speak the same internal language and the words arrive intact without any loss in transit. These people are rare. You know that. You have always known that. But rare is not the same as non-existent. And the fact that you stopped exhausting yourself trying to be understood by people who are never going to get there doesn't mean you've given up on being known. It means you've gotten honest about where that knowing is possible and where it isn't. You've stopped spending your energy on the 97% who will always hear a simplified version of you. And you've started protecting that energy for the 3% who don't need the simplification, who hear the full thing, who sit in the room of your inner world and don't need a tour guide because they recognize the furniture. That is not isolation. That is the most intelligent form of selectivity a person can practice. It's the decision to stop performing understanding for people who will only ever understand the performance, and to wait patiently and without apology for the people who understand the thing beneath it. If you are someone who stopped trying to be understood a long time ago and you've been carrying the quiet weight of that decision ever since, wondering if you made the right call, wondering if maybe you should try again, wondering if the problem was always you and your standards were always too high, and maybe if you just tried one more time with one more person, in one more way, I want to tell you something. You made the right call. Your standards were not too high. The people who didn't understand you were not bad or stupid or shallow. They were just speaking a different language. And you were not wrong to stop shouting across the gap when the gap was never going to close. The peace you found on the other side of that decision is not a consolation prize. It's a foundation. It's the ground on which the right connections, when they come, will actually be able to stand. Because the person who has stopped performing understanding for the wrong people is the person who is finally available to be truly known by the right ones. And being truly known by even one person who actually hears you, who actually sees you, who actually sits in the fullness of who you are without needing you to make yourself smaller or simpler or easier to digest, that experience, even if it happens only once in your life, is worth more than a lifetime of being partially known by everyone you meet. You stopped trying to be understood, and in stopping, you finally became available to be found. If any part of this reached you tonight, I want you to sit with it instead of analyzing it. Don't turn it into a task. Don't make a plan. Just let the recognition be enough for now. You have been carrying the weight of your own depth for a very long time, and the fact that you're still carrying it, still showing up, still quietly being the most complex person in most rooms you walk into, is not your burden. It's your proof. Proof that the thing inside you that wanted to be known was strong enough to survive not being known. And anything that survives that long is not going away. It's just waiting for the right place to finally land. You are not too much. You are always just in the wrong rooms. And the right room, when you find it, won't ask you to explain yourself at all.